Alright, this is a 7th grade MCA topic, something we're going to see on the MCAs. We definitely saw it on the first set of MCAs, and a lot of you brought it up, and I went around and checked some of the computers and definitely saw some surface area questions, and it's something that I wanted to hit again just so we have a good handle on it. And we're also going to take it a little step further and introduce some new things with it. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we know what surface area is talking about, and I want to point out that this is different than volume. The reason I want to point that out is because surface area deals with three-dimensional figures, and a lot of times it can be confused with volume, but we'll point out the difference here. Okay, so we want to start with the definition of surface area. Okay, surface area refers to the combined area of the outer faces of a figure. So imagine taking a 3D shape, and it could be any shape. The one that I've been using is my water bottle. Where is it here? Right over here. Three-dimensional shape, closed on the top, closed on the bottom. When we talk about volume, we talk about how much water we can fill this thing with. That's volume, how much you can fill up a space. But when we're talking about surface area, we're talking about the outer surface of it. So for instance, if I were to take this water bottle, and I mentioned dipping a three-dimensional shape in paint. So let's say we covered this whole thing in paint, or we dropped it in a paint bucket. When we pulled it out, the outside surface would be anything that's covered in paint. Okay? So what we're really trying to do is figure out the area of that surface that's covered. And the way that you're going to see it on your MCAs, and this is to find the surface area of a prism, we use this formula. Surface area equals the perimeter of the perimeter of the base times your height, or the height of the figure, plus 2 times the area of your base. So the real big important part about this formula is being able to work with the base of the figure. So we have to be able to identify the base, and once we do that, we have to be able to find the perimeter of that base, and 2, find the area of that base. And those 2 things are things that we've already done, as you're going to see. Now before we jump into that formula, one thing that we can do, especially with like a cube, you can take a 3-dimensional figure and you can break it down into a 2-dimensional image. And this, for instance, would be a cube. If you unfolded a cube, this is what it would look like. It has 6 squares. And if you wanted to find the surface area of it, you could find the area of one of your squares, and then multiply this area by 6, because there are 6 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, the reason the formula that we're going to use is important, or why you're going to see it as important, is because it's going to save you time. We're not always going to have easy shapes like a cube to help us get the surface area in that fashion. So the formula that is given will help us with those more complex figures where we don't have to break it up into its net. That's what they call this. They call it a net. And then figure out area piece by piece and then add it all up. So that formula is going to save us some time. And I'll show you how this works. So we're going to ignore B here. What we want to do, we'll talk about B next year. What we want to do is find the total surface area of this cube. And it has a 10 centimeter edge, which means all of the edges are 10 centimeters because it's a cube. All the edges are the same. And 10 right there. Okay? So, what we could do is first, let's just take one of our sides. If we want to do this the net way, let's go back and take a look at it. I know that this is a 10 by 10 square, and if we multiply 10 times 10, because that's the area of a square, or a rectangle is length times width, well, 10 times 10 gets us that, which equals 100. Okay? And we have 6 of those squares, remember, so if we multiply 100 by 6, we get 600, and whatever units we were in, which is centimeters, it would be 600 centimeters squared. Okay? Okay, so that would be the way you could do it this way. Because there are 6 squares, one of them has an area of 100, multiply those two together, you get the total surface area. However, like I said, it's not always going to be that nice. We're not going to be able to do it that way all the time. So I want to show you how it works with this formula, okay? And I was wrong. You can do it that way all the time if you want, but it just takes a little bit more time. So let's see how this formula helps us save some time. Maybe not for this one, but it will on the next couple. Okay? So, perimeter of the base. We want to look at our base. The base is a thing that is on the floor, or the top. And I will try to be artistic, but that's not always that easy. There we go. Let's just use that. That looks a little better than my first one. Alright, so there's our base. Definitely didn't do the best job, but you know what I mean. Our base is the thing that's on the floor here. It's this square right there. So if I want to draw a top view of that base, that'll help us out. So we're looking down on this thing from the top. This base would be a 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. Alright? So, first thing we want to do, the formula tells us to find the perimeter of the base. Okay, let's do that. Perimeter of the base, we add up all of our sides. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. That's 40. We're going to multiply that times the height of our figure. This is the only piece that you use that doesn't deal with the base. So the height is how tall your shape is, and it's 10 centimeters. So that piece went right there. And we're going to add on 2 times the area of the base. Alright? Now the area of the base, remember we have a square base, so length times width. So it should be 10 times 10, which is 100. And why would we multiply our base times 2, or the area of our base times 2? Because we have 2 bases. We have the one that's on the floor, and then we have a top base too, so a top and a bottom. And then this is the part that figures out the other sides, or the sides that are not the base, basically. So this takes care of your non-base area. This part takes care of the base area. And then what we do is multiply and add. So 40 times 10 is 400. We're going to add that to 2 times 100, which is 200. And then we go 400 plus 200, 600 centimeters squared. And we still get the same answer that we got before, except for we use the formula this time. Okay. Now, here would be one where we want to use the formula for sure. Because we don't have the we don't have a nice cube, basically. We have different side lengths. And this one says that we can estimate the surface area of the box, which is helpful because we can round up these mixed numbers. So 7 3/4, that rounds up to 8 inches. 12 1/4, that's going to stay at 12 inches. And 2 3/4 is going to round to 3 inches. Okay, so now the first thing you want to do, always, for surface area, is find your base. And it's going to look something like this. It'll be a rectangle, and it looks like it's going to be a 3 by 8. These are 8s. Okay, so we have a 3 by 8 rectangle. Top view of that is a 3 by 8 3 by 8. Okay. Alright, now perimeter, remember, we add up all the sides. So we have 8 plus 3, which is 11. And what I'm going to do is just double that, because adding on the same 2, we can just double. So 11 times 2 is 22. If you add up all these, you should get 22. So perimeter of the base is 22. We're going to multiply that times the height of our figure, which is 12 inches. And then we're going to add on 2 times the area of our base. Okay? So the area, when we have a rectangle, so area of a rectangle is length times width again. 8 times 3 is 24. And then we go through and solve this. So 22 times 12, first of all. I'm going to grab my calculator to save us some time. Someone had it in a different program. Alright, 22 times 12 plus 2 times 24. Looks like it's about 312. So this would have been 624 plus 48, and we would have got 312 inches squared. And I forgot to point out earlier that we are in square inches because we are dealing with area. Okay? I want to check the time on my video here. Okay, we're doing alright. So once again, 624 multiplying these two together, and then adding on 48 once we multiply these two, 312 inches squared. Alright. Okay, now this would be one that we'd want to try on our own, and then go ahead and see. Maybe you want to pause the video and then get your solution and then see if it matches with mine. So I'm going to jump in and get my solution going. So we've got a 4 by 6 by 12 rectangular prism. We want the surface area. So 4 by 6 by 12. So let's do something like this. Won't be the best drawing. Well, let's do better than that. Sure, this will work. Will not be to scale, sorry about that. Something like that. Let's just say 4 by 6 by 12. Alright, remember, first thing you want to do is identify your base. And that's going to be something like that. This piece right here, looks like we have a 4 by 6 rectangle. 4 by 6, 4 by 6. Okay, rectangle. So once again, find the perimeter of your base, right here. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus another 10 is 20. So we've got 20 times the height of our figure, which is 12, plus 2 times the area of the base. Area of the base, since it's a rectangle, is length times width, which is 24. So calculator tells us 20 times 12 is 240. Plus 2 times 24, which is 48. And if we add 240 plus 48, we get 288 centimeters squared. Alright, hopefully your solution matched mine. And if it didn't, you were able to see where it went wrong. Okay. Moving on to the next piece of this. One of the newer things we're going to talk about is using this for a cylinder. So finding the surface area of a cylinder is no different than what we've been doing, except our base is always going to be a circle. Okay, so our base is a circle, here and here. Radius, remember, is halfway across the center. So from an outer point through the center, and all the way across would be the diameter. So radius is half the diameter. Altitude is the same thing as height. Okay? So how does this change our formula? Well, let's take a look at this one. says find the surface area of a cylinder that has a height of 10 inches and the base has a diameter of 8 inches. So we'll have something like this. Okay, so our height is 10 and the diameter is 8. So that's all the way across. Okay. Now we have a different name for the perimeter of a circle, remember, so the perimeter of our base is distance around. For a circle, distance around is called circumference. And circumference will be on your MCA formula sheet, but we know that circumference is found by doing pi times diameter. Okay, that'll give us the distance around our circle, so that's the perimeter of our base. Times our height, height is going to be the same thing, height of our figure, plus 2 times the area of our base. Now the area of a circle, since our base is a circle, area of a circle is pi times radius squared. And we will go ahead and use 3.14 for pi. So let's take a look at what we have here. We're going to use pi times our diameter, which is 8, times our height, which is 10, plus 2 times our radius squared times pi. Now remember, this is our diameter, our radius is half of that, so that's 4. Okay, so we've got 3.14 times 8 times 10, and I'm going to do all that right now. 3.14 times 8 times 10, and that's 251.2. So all of this, 251.2 plus, and remember, this is going to come out to, let's do 2 times pi times 4 to the second power does not mean 4 times 2, it means 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, so we're going to add this on to whatever answer we get here. I'm going to do 2 times 3.14 times 16. So 2 times 3.14 times 16 gives us 100.48. So we're going to add 251.2 plus 100.48, and that should get us our answer, which should be what? 351.68. That would be inches squared, I believe. I'm going to check my time again. Alright, we are getting up there. So I'll probably leave it right here. I do have one more example, so I'm going to put that into the next video. I'll call it part 2, and it'll be one more example that you can go over and then check to see if you get the right answer as I do, or the same answer as I do. So look for part 2.